Hey, it's Lauren. Today we are going to talk about the brand new relaunched Rose Quartz Palette from Athrbeauty. Little backstory here. So this first palette I received directly from Tiila herself in San Francisco. I was a brand new blogger. Athrbeauty had just launched, and I reached out to her and was like, hey, can I interview you for a blog piece? And she said yes. So we met up in San Francisco and she gifted me with her then brand new palette. It was a really cool time. I'll put the link down below for the blog if you're interested. But my, have they grown over the past few years. So they just relaunched the brand new Rose Quartz Palette, and we're going to talk about it today. There are a couple of things to know about the differences of these. First of which, when you look at them, let me flip this thing around. First of which, when you look at them, the new palette, it's a little bit shorter, and I'm actually totally on board with this. The other thing that you'll notice, this little elastic band is gone in favor of just this simple opening. I don't know what you call this. Is it like a pillbox type closure? But there are no magnets in here. And you'll also notice in both palettes there are no mirrors because mirrors are difficult to recycle. But I love that they did away with this little band. The whole palette is recyclable. The one thing that you have to do though, if you do recycle this, is you have to cut off this elastic, which you could use as like a hair tie or something like that. But I'm happy that they got rid of that. That's actually, I think, a great upgrade in terms of being more eco-friendly. Now, the palettes. I believe the old one was $58. I'm pretty sure all of the older palettes were $58. The new palette is $48. So it's a little more compact, it's a little more eco-friendly by ditching the elastic strap, and it's a little more wallet friendly too. So I'm gonna put these on my arms and show you a little swatch comparison. All right, so I'm gonna apologize now for being a rookie with my swatching. There are the same number of shades. I just went way further down on one arm than the other. So this is the original palette, okay? One of the things that you'll notice is the top 3 shades of both arms are the same. The one thing I noticed right off the bat is this particular shade, what is the name of this one? Moonstone, is a bit more vibrant in the new palette. Now that could be because my other palette is kind of older now. I don't really know, but there's definitely, it's the same shade, but there's more kick with some shimmer. Now, they both have a very similar kind of feel. One of the biggest things that I noticed that they did is the duochrome shades, the 4 from the middle here of the old palette, look a bit different. They are softer, they are more metallic. They do not have the same bright kind of glittery kick to them as they, like the new palette is just a bit softer all around, I feel like. They did stick with the same, let me stack them this way. They did stick with the same idea of shades in here. You've got your brighter kind of champagne-y color. You've got your kind of grayish undertone. You've got kind of a warm, more purpley undertone, and then you've got more of a reddish undertone. So they kept the same idea there. The other thing that you'll notice is the grays have changed a bit. You have 2 metallics in this palette and 1 matte versus 2 mattes and 1 metallic. So let me also show you those because I noticed a bit of a difference there. In the original, there's the 2 mattes, and here's the 1 in this palette. I would say there's more overall kind of shimmery shades because of that across the new palette. You do have some mattes which kind of anchor and ground it, but then you've also got a big block of shimmers. So let's talk about this a bit more. I feel like almost like the new matte, I feel like they almost like kind of combined these two. You've still got a little more depth in this one. So overall, thoughts and opinions. I have to be honest, I really loved these duochrome shades from the original palette. You can tell they've got a lot of love. And I'm kind of sad that they're not in this one. They did keep, you know, 3 of the same shades, but then they kind of changed everything else. I don't mind an upgrade. I don't mind, you know, updating things with time, that sort of thing, but I really loved those shades from the original palette. The one thing I will say though is there's a really nice kind of metallic foily quality to these new shades that they added in. One of the things that I will say is that I kind of wish that they would have done kind of like what Urban Decay does with their Naked palettes, where they have like 1, 2, and 3. I almost wish that this was like a separate new palette versus just being a replacement. That's just a personal opinion. I just loved this initial palette so much that I never felt like it needed to be changed. So, but the new palette is really, really beautiful, and I think a lot of people really will enjoy this one, especially because of those kind of duochrome shades. I think a lot of people didn't necessarily know how to use them, and they were like, why are they there? So I think, you know, in that regard, like, I think that it will be good for a lot of people. So let's put some of this new palette on my eyeballs, shall we? All right, so since I've kind of got this like whole peachy thing going on today, I'm gonna take the shade Self Love and put that all over my lid space. So with Athrbeauty, they recently did like a crowdfunding kind of thing, really to, you know, get some investments from whoever wanted to join in to reinvest into the company and help it grow. Obviously, I have been a long-time supporter and fan of this brand, so I was able to make a very small contribution. I am an official Athrbeauty investor, but I love so much what they do with being more eco-friendly and sustainable. And I think, especially as someone who loves beauty products and who's interested in them, personally, with what I do reviewing products, I oftentimes feel a lot of guilt for the amount of waste that I create. And then it's like every day you read some new report from scientists that are like, the earth is burning, like, thanks a lot, people. It's like, well, gee, okay, like, how can I do better? Obviously, the first answer to that is lowering your overall consumption. But I also think when you can make sustainable swaps and utilize things that are either reusable or that are easily recycled, I think that is the way to go. So what do I want to do today? I kind of want to make this more interesting. I'm going to use this kind of gray shade. One of the things that I love so much about this palette and the old one is that this grayish shade has like a, almost like a purpley undertone, which is pretty cool. And I just think it adds a little bit of a pop when you use like this warmer tone, and then you get this really cool gray with like a lavender undertone to it. Very pretty. So yeah, officially an Athrbeauty investor. We'll see where that goes. Who knows? There could be a little return on investment someday. Ooh, I like how that looks. That's really cool. I'll blend it out. Like, don't worry, I'm not leaving it like that. I'm gonna do just a tiny, tiny bit of this under my eyeball too. One of the things that I love so much about the Athrbeauty palettes, all of them that I've had, is that they are so incredibly soft. These shadows are just like so buttery. And I think also the Rose Quartz Palette especially has always been a longtime favorite of mine because it is just so easy for everyday wear. Like, sometimes I don't want to wear like bright colors because sometimes I feel like it just kind of steals the show on my face, and that's all people are looking at. And the thing about the Rose Quartz Palette that I love so much about the original and with this one is it's just very, very soft, and it's pretty and kind of has a romantic feel to it, like, go figure, with rose quartz. And I love it so much. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a blending brush and very softly blend this. One of the things that I think is important to talk about with this palette, it is so very soft. You really do get kind of a wash of color, and I think that's what makes it so accessible for most people. It's not going to be a scary palette to use. But if you do want to kick up the intensity a little bit, I do recommend using an eye primer. Let me just show you what that looks like too. So what I'll do is I'll use that shade Self Love that I used on my eyes, and I will swatch it here for you. And then I'm gonna put on a little bit of a primer. This is just some MAC Painterly. Where is it? Okay. So we'll put MAC Painterly down, and then we'll go back over that with some Self Love. And it definitely just amps up that intensity just a little bit. So I think that if you're looking to make it pop even a little bit more, throw on a primer underneath, and then also you'll see it's gonna stay on longer. So tip of the day. What else do I wanna add on here? I wanna use, let me see. I wanna use this kind of like bright, oh, actually do Moonstone. Because that's a classic. We'll use that one on the inner corner. I'm pretty excited, like, because they're starting to kind of, you know, revamp the brand. I'm really excited to see what's coming. I kind of have an idea of something that's on the way. Happens to be one of my favorite type of products. So we'll see what that is all about. I'm very excited, especially with their sustainability efforts. It rhymes with Schmashcara, in case you were wondering. Mascara tends to be a product that is really, really difficult to recycle. And usually it's just a really not eco-friendly product, and it's really unfortunate because it's one of my favorite products. So they have something, from what I understand, that is on the way, and I'm very excited to see what that is. So I have no idea anything about it. I have no details other than I know that it's in the works. All right. Very pretty, very soft. I'm gonna throw on some eyeliner and mascara, and I will be right back. And I'm back. So I put on some Ash eyeliner from Victoria Beckham Beauty because I felt like that played really well with that kind of gray that we've got going on. And somewhere around here, I put on some Jones Road Beauty mascara, one of my favorites. I love how this whole look came together. So overall thoughts on the updated Rose Quartz Palette. You know, overall, I'm really, really happy with the kind of makeover that this has received. I love the more sustainable, even more sustainable component of removing that elastic band. I love that they kind of shrunk the size. I personally love petite sized makeup. I don't like things that are enormous. I'm never going to be that person who sees a 50-pan palette of eyeshadow and thinks, yes, please sign me up. I want that. No, I don't. I don't want that. That's like chaos and clutter and too much. So I love that they kind of shrunk the size of this. I love that it's got, you know, no mirror, same as the original. Overall, I really love the shades of this. I think that they're even more vibrant in some ways than the original palette. The one thing I will say that broke my heart a little bit was getting rid of those 4 duochrome shadows from the original palette. I just loved those so, so much. And I kind of hope that they will make their way back into something eventually. And who knows, they might even just scrap it all and do something really, really, really more intense and vibrant than those. But I just really loved those 4 shadows. So I was a little sad that they didn't end up in the new palette. But I'm not going to, you know, dwell on that because I still have the original palette. So, like, I don't need to cry about it. Overall, love Athrbeauty, love what they're doing, love that they raise awareness for sustainability. And one other thing that I didn't talk about that I do want to talk about. So a long, long time ago when I sat down with Tiila, one of the things that she talked about is that they use synthetic mica, which is personally something that I am very interested in with cosmetics companies. A couple years ago for some blog pieces, I reached out to a very large net of cosmetics companies asking where they source their mica. You may or may not know, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of mica is sourced by children, oftentimes in India. So there's child labor, it's ugly, kids go down in these mines, some of them don't make it out. It is the thing in beauty that nobody wants to talk about. And a lot of companies, when I reached out, are incredibly vague about where they source their mica from. Some of them have, mines here in the US. A lot of mines are based out of Georgia if they are US based. Some of the companies will say that they have a certification from their supplier that it is non-child labor mined. There's really not a lot of oversight with that. There was a piece on Refinery29 about that. If you're interested, I can also link to my blog post and more about that. But one of the things I love about Athrbeauty is that they are against child labor amongst being against animal testing and things like that. That's why they use synthetic mica, and I love the transparency there, because as a consumer, I want to know that my choices are not hurting other people. And it's very hard to know that with a lot of cosmetics companies, and Athrbeauty makes it very clear that they are not using mica that could have been sourced by children. So, love Athrbeauty. New palette is really, really beautiful. I think it's really soft for everyday wear for people, and very excited to see where this goes now that I'm an investor. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed seeing a comparison side by side of the original palette and the new palette. And I'm very excited to see what other palettes they will launch. So thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, if you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a little like, a little thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.